Hi everyone. So in the previous video, I explained to you all about Delhi Sultanate, how many individual dynasties existed or came under the Delhi Sultanate, and I even had attached a proper timeline or the name of the dynasties which came under Delhi Sultanate, which were the slave dynasty, which we already learned in the first video, then Khilji dynasty, which we are going to do today, then Tughlaq dynasty, followed by Sayyid dynasty, and then the last was the Lodi dynasty. So I already explained you all about the slave dynasty, and in the part 1 of the video, since slave dynasty, I finished everything about slave dynasty, which was also known as Mamluk or the Ilbari dynasty. Now today we will see part 2 of the video, and in this part we will learn about Khilji dynasty. So let us now begin. Now before going in detail, as usual, very first and very formally we need to see the brief timeline of the Khilji empire. I mean, by timeline I mean who succeeded whom basically, and which rulers belonged to which dynasty and who came after whom. So let's see the timeline. So the Khilji dynasty had these 4 rulers: Jalaluddin Khilji, Alauddin Khilji, Shibauddin Omar, and Mubarak Khilji. So Jalaluddin Khilji was the uncle of Alauddin Khilji, and Alauddin Khilji was in turn the nephew of Jalaluddin Khilji. Now Alauddin Khilji had 2 children, Shibauddin Omar and Mubarak Khilji, or Mubarak Shah you can say. So, and the 2 major important rulers of this dynasty were Jalaluddin Khilji and Alauddin Khilji. And Alauddin Khilji was the most important ruler of this dynasty, because we will see that after his death, nobody was able to sustain the legacy of the empire. Nobody was able to, carry forward the legacy, the rich legacy of this dynasty. So in a way, ultimately after the death of Alauddin Khilji, 2 rulers came succeeding him, but they were not that much efficient. So basically, if you say that who was the hero of this dynasty, it has to be undoubtedly Alauddin Khilji. Now after I have given you the timeline, we shall now begin with the founder of this dynasty, that is Jalaluddin Khilji. Now he was also known as Malik Feroz, and he ruled for 6 years, from 1290 to 1296. He was the founder of Khilji dynasty. So who laid the foundation stone of this empire? It was Jalaluddin Khilji, the uncle of Alauddin Khilji. Now he came to throne when he was 70 years of his age, and hence he was very humble, and he was not of that temperament, of that mild nature from the very beginning. When he used to work under somebody else, but when he came to the throne, he was of 70 years of his age, and thus doing justice to his age, he was very mild, cool, calm, and humble by nature. He even said that since majority of the people in India are Hindus, the states in India could not be a total Islam state. Now I forgot to tell you a brief story. In case if you do not know, Jalaluddin Khilji was of Turkish ethnicity, but since he and his parents must have lived in Afghanistan for a longer duration, his mannerisms, his customs were a bit different from that of Turks. So when he came to power in 1290, Muslim masses of Delhi did not accept him wholeheartedly. It was not easy for the people of Delhi to accept him, because the people of Delhi, or the masses of Delhi, for the longer time were under the influence of the Turks, as I already told you in the previous video when we were dealing with the slave dynasty. So the people of Delhi were majorly under the influence of the Turks. So for Jalaluddin, it was a bit difficult to earn the acceptance of the people. He could not stand upon the expectations of the people, and people were not able to accept him wholeheartedly. But very soon and gradually people accepted him and became mild towards him. Anyways, now coming to the point, as I told you, he even said that since majority of the people in India are Hindus, the states in India could not. This might have been his, a strategy to present a good picture of himself among the people. So he was the first person who said that the people of India are Hindus, so the states in India could not be a total Islam state. So he was not that hardcore with this ideology of his. Now, Jalaluddin Khilji even allowed Malik Chhajju, who happened to be nephew of Balban, to retain his governorship of Karamanikpur. He was so mild and he was so generous by nature that he even allowed Malik Chhajju, who was the nephew of Balban, to retain his governorship of Karamanikpur. He even forgave the criminals and robbers, which shows his excessive kind gesture towards people. But this attitude was not liked by other nobles and his nephew Alauddin Khilji, who later killed Jalaluddin and ascended the throne in 1296 AD. Now, since Jalaluddin was so kind and since he was also very old in age, so ultimately he had to be very kind, otherwise there was no escape for him. So owing to his kindness, he even allowed to retain the governorship of Karamanikpur to Malik Chhajju, and he even forgave the criminals and robbers, which was a sort of his excessive kind gesture. And this attitude was not liked by the nobles and his nephew Alauddin Khilji, owing to which Alauddin killed his uncle and ascended the throne in 1296 AD. Now, soon after Jalaluddin's death, his nephew Alauddin Khilji came to power, and he probably was one of the most strong rulers of Khilji dynasty, undoubtedly. So let us see some points about him. And oh my god, I forgot to give you one of the biggest points about him. And who doesn't know this? A film itself has been made on Alauddin Khilji, needless to say, and needless to take the name, because you all have been very acquainted with the name of that film. Now here I have attached the picture of Alauddin Khilji. Now, Alauddin Khilji ascended the throne in 1296 after killing his uncle Jalaluddin Khilji, as I said it earlier. He even proposed the theory of kinship knows no kinship. Kingship knows no kinship, and thus separated religion from politics and becoming the first Turkish Sultan to do so. Now you all must be thinking, what is the meaning of this phrase which Alauddin proclaimed? That is, kingship knows no kinship. So basically, Alauddin by this statement meant or wanted to tell people that a leader or a ruler or a king for that matter should never discriminate between his relatives or common public. Now this was a sort of attitude which impressed people. He did not discriminate between his relatives or his acquaintance or between the common public. He said that leader is not bounded to a certain foundations. So this was a big statement which he gave, or this was a big message rather, which he gave to the masses. Now Alauddin expanded all the areas which he inherited from his uncle after killing him. Now whichever areas Jalaluddin had gotten into his command, he expanded all those areas. Who? Alauddin Khilji. He expanded all those areas which he inherited. Now he also annexed Gujarat, Ranthambore, Mewar, Malwa and Jalore. He even brought some parts of central India under his control, such as Malwa, Ujjain, Chanderi and Mandawar. Now he was gradually shifting his focus towards all parts of India. Initially he captured he got his grip over the western part of India. Later on he shifted his attention to the central part of the India. He even at some point of time he even reached the southern tip of India, but he could not do much big deeds there. Now he even protected the India from the invasion of Mongols, and that too for 5 times. Now he protected India from Mongolian invasion for 5 times. So in a way you will see that India was indebted to Alauddin Khilji, or India was greatly obliged to Alauddin Khilji for such a great favor. People even say that he was the richest sultan in the history of Delhi. Now people say that he was the richest sultan in the history of Delhi. And he was a very strict administrator. Under his rule, many changes took place. Hindus had to bear heavy taxation toll. He even reduced the private property of noble class. Now when he came, he brought some really hard reforms, and he was very strict, he was very disciplined. Under his rule, many changes took place. Hindus had to bear heavy taxation toll. He even reduced the private property of noble class. Now he was known for leading a very extravagant life. Now he was very luxurious in his lifestyle. He used to live a very extravagant life, and he built the most important Alai fort and Alai Darwaza, which happens to be the entrance gate of Qutub Minar. So these are some of his constructions which he did during his reign. He was very fond of art and music, and Amir Khusro was his favorite court poet. Now we must have heard the name of Amir Khusro when this person was his favorite court poet and existed at the time of Alauddin's reign. Now Alauddin became very ill in his later stage of life owing to his luxurious lifestyle, and hence needed somebody to manage his affairs. Now Alauddin began losing grip over his lifestyle, since he was leading a very extravagant and luxurious life. So he was in a way deteriorating his health, and in such a situation he needed somebody to carry forward his administration, or he needed somebody to assist him. So in such a situation, Malik Kafur Hazar Dinari came to his assistance. When Alauddin died, Kafur seized the throne. After the death of Alauddin, his assistant Malik Kafur came to the throne, and before Kafur died, he appointed Alauddin's 6-year-old son Shibauddin Omar as the king and imprisoned the eldest son Mubarak Shah. But after Kafur died, Mubarak Shah came to the power. Now when Alauddin's health began to deteriorate, Kafur started assisting him, and when Alauddin died, Kafur seized the throne. But when Kafur was about to die, he handed over the administration to Alauddin's 6-year-old son Shibauddin Omar as the king, and he did not give the administration, or he did not hand over the empire to the eldest son of Alauddin, who was Mubarak Shah. In fact, he imprisoned the eldest son of Alauddin. But after Kafur died, somehow Mubarak Shah came to the power. Now I think, after the death of Alauddin Khilji, it makes it very clear that in a way Khilji dynasty was moving towards its decline. But anyways, we will know about Mubarak Shah in very short. So let us see. Now Mubarak Shah. After Kafur's death, Mubarak Shah, also known as Qutubuddin Mubarak Shah, he was also somewhere has been named as Mubarak Khan. You need not confuse in those areas. And after Kafur's death, Mubarak Shah ascended the throne, but was very weak and inefficient. He abolished all the taxes and penalties. He ruled for very short tenure of time and was killed by Khusro Khan. Now Khusro Khan was not Amir Khusro. Now people confuse heavily over this area, but yeah, you need to make a proper clear-cut distinction over here. Amir Khusro should not be confused with Khusro Khan. Now, Mubarak Shah, who was Alauddin's eldest son, he was very weak and inefficient, and he could not carry on the rich legacy of this empire. And even when he came, he abolished all the taxes and penalties. So his way of administration was not efficient. It was leading the empire in the state of total chaos and turmoil and total deterioration. So he ruled for a very short period of time and was later on killed by Khusro Khan. Now afterwards, Khusro Khan came to the throne and assumed the title of Nasiruddin in mid 1320s. But he also could not do wonders. Khusro Khan was killed by Ghazi Malik, and this ultimately led to the end of Khilji dynasty. So Khusro Khan also could not do anything great, and he was also killed by Ghazi Malik, and this led to the end of Khilji dynasty. So after the decline of Khilji empire, we see the rise of Tughlaq dynasty. But today we are not going to deal with Tughlaq dynasty in this video, otherwise this will become very lengthy. I'll make a separate video on that, so stay tuned for that and do well. Thank you.